Have you ever noticed that we live in the most connected time in human history, yet many people have never felt more alone? That's a thought that keeps coming back to me. I don't have all the answers today. This isn't a lecture. It's not a political statement. It's simply a musing. One of those thoughts that drifts through your mind while sitting on the porch, watching the sun go down and wondering how we got here. Because something seems different. Not long ago, family was the center of life. Whether you lived in a small town, on a farm, or in a busy city neighborhood. Family wasn't just something you visited on holidays. It was your support system. It was your safety net. It was where wisdom was passed from one generation to the next. Grandparents knew their grandchildren. Brothers and sisters worked through disagreements because there was no alternative. Parents grew old surrounded by people who knew them best. Family wasn't perfect, far from it, but it was often the strongest institution in a person's life. Today, many families barely speak. Parents and grandchildren become strangers. Brothers and sisters go years without a conversation. Grandchildren grow up without knowing their grandparents. And while every estrangement has its own story, I find myself wondering if we're looking at this only as a personal problem when it may also be a cultural one. Maybe the question isn't simply why families fall apart. Maybe the bigger question is why so many forces seem to benefit when they do. Think about it. Throughout history, the family has been one of the few institutions powerful enough to compete with outside influence. A strong family passes down values. A strong family teaches identity. A strong family provides emotional support. A strong family creates a sense of belonging that can't easily be replaced. When people know who they are and where they belong, they tend to be harder to manipulate. They don't need constant validation from strangers. They aren't as dependent on outside institutions to define their worth. They have roots, and roots matter. A tree with deep roots can survive storms. A tree without roots can be blown in almost any direction. Now, I'm not suggesting there's some grand conspiracy behind every family disagreement. People hurt each other. People make mistakes. Sometimes distance is necessary. Sometimes relationships become unhealthy. Real life is complicated, but I do wonder whether our culture has become increasingly hostile to the idea of working through differences. It seems we've become experts at drawing lines, experts at labeling people, experts at deciding who belongs and who doesn't. The moment someone disagrees with us, the relationship itself can become disposable. Maybe we've confused boundaries with isolation. Maybe we've confused independence with separation. Maybe we've forgotten that relationships require patience, forgiveness, and grace. Those qualities aren't celebrated much anymore. Efficiency is celebrated. Individualism is celebrated. Personal fulfillment is celebrated. But family? Family can be messy. Family requires compromise. Family requires enduring discomfort. Family requires accepting that the people you love will sometimes disappoint you. Perhaps that's why it's becoming harder. Because we live in a culture that increasingly encourages us to optimize everything. Our careers, our homes, our schedules, even our relationships. If a relationship no longer serves us, we're often encouraged to move on. But families were never designed to be efficient. Families were designed to be resilient. There's a difference. A resilient family bends without breaking. An efficient family breaks the moment things become inconvenient. And that brings me back to the thought I can't quite let go of. What happens to a society when family becomes weaker? Who fills the void? If people no longer receive support from family, they'll look elsewhere. If they no longer receive identity from family, they'll look elsewhere. If they no longer receive belonging from family, they'll look elsewhere. Human beings need connection. That's not optional. The only question is where we'll find it. Maybe that's why loneliness continues to rise even while our networks grow larger. We've accumulated connections but lost community. We've gained followers but lost fellowship. We've learned how to communicate instantly while forgetting how to stay connected over time. And perhaps the greatest tragedy isn't the arguments themselves, it's the lost history. When families become estranged, stories disappear, traditions disappear, lessons disappear. Children lose access to grandparents who survived hardships they can barely imagine. Wisdom that took decades to acquire vanishes in a single generation. The chain gets broken, and once broken, it's often difficult to rebuild. The older I get, the more I realize that every family carries wounds. Every family has disagreements. Every family has regrets. The question isn't whether conflict exists. The question is whether we're willing to do the difficult work of reconciliation whenever possible. Not because people are always right, not because forgiveness is easy, but because some things are worth preserving. A family doesn't have to be perfect to be valuable. It simply has to remain connected. Maybe that's one reason our ancestors fought so hard to keep families together. They understood something we've forgotten. Human beings were never meant to face the world alone. So when I see the growing number of estranged families, I can't help but wonder if we're witnessing more than individual disagreements. Maybe we're watching the slow erosion of one of the strongest foundations a society can have. And if that's true, then rebuilding families may be about much more than repairing relationships. It may be about restoring something essential to what makes us human. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Why do you think family estrangement has become so common? Is it a necessary response to modern life? Or are we losing something far more valuable than we realize? Let me know in the comments. I read every one. And until next time, thanks so much for stopping by. I'm Marlene with Rebel Retirement, and I'll see you next time. Hey, you guys, please take a look around my channel. I have hundreds of videos on topics including Social Security, Medicare, how to get out of debt, pros and cons of moving, relationship issues, health topics, and more. And all of these videos are based on my experience and what I have learned in retirement. And I know that many people are worried about money in retirement, and this is exactly why Rebel Retiree and I created our just-in-time retirement series. And it's absolutely free, you guys, so it doesn't hurt to take a look at it. It's a mindset-based retirement planning strategy that eliminates waste and aligns your finances with your goals and values. With continuous improvement, you free up your resources to create an abundant retirement lifestyle. So I recommend viewing the playlist on this channel. And to get the full picture, visit our website, rebelretirement.com. And if you are nearing retirement and worried about your financial future, you're going to get a whole different viewpoint. See for yourself at rebelretirement.com.